Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome to the Popcorn Podcast. This is episode number 46. Some of you will already be raising your eyebrows and be questioning, where are we? We don't usually shoot in this room. Unfortunately, the other room was booked up, so we have settled for a smaller, more intimate, dare I say, environment. But location is never a problem when the company is so great. And today we have some pretty new company. We have Mr. MovieComicJunkie joining me for a special discussion on the latest Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Thank you so much for making the time and coming in and chatting with me. I did already say this to Sandy already, but in my initial email to him, but there is literally no one better to be talking about this film than yourself. I don't know if you guys have seen Sandy on TikTok. Potentially, if you are somewhat vaguely interested in Lord of the Rings, you would have probably come across one of this guy's videos. When I tell you, I thought I knew Lord of the Rings, but that was until I came across this gentleman's page. I'm going to stop talking. I'll let you just sort of do a little quick intro for yourself. How did you get into TikTok? What was the kind of motivation behind it? Take it away, Sandy.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here.
Of course.
This is crazy, my first podcast.
I mean, it's an honor. It is an honor to be your first.
It's an honor for me. Very nervous, very excited.
No, there's nothing to be nervous about.
Yeah, well.
Hopefully. We'll see. We shall see.
We shall see.
We'll play some games. So.
Oh, God, don't. Oh. My heart, I'm trembling already. So, yeah, my name's MovieComicJunkie. People call me Sandy. I'm primarily on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and I started TikTok about just over 2-ish years ago.
Yeah.
I just for fun, I just started making random videos. I was really into film, so I was talking about films and stuff like that. Comics as well. MovieComicJunkie. I love my comics.
You do indeed.
Oh yeah. And then Rings of Power Season 1 started coming out. Big Lord of the Rings guy. I love Lord of the Rings.
Understatement.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just started talking about Lord of the Rings, just other stuff in the universe, because it's massive. Like, Tolkien was working pretty much his entire life on this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just started making videos about the lore, and like people really responded with that. Like they liked it a lot. There was a lot of engagement. Following grew fairly significantly, and
could say that.
And that kind of just became my main niche, I guess, is talking about Lord of the Rings. That's not exclusively what I talk about. I still do other stuff, just lore across the board. Do a lot of gaming stuff, still film stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all in all, basically, I think what the pair of us are trying to summarize is this is probably going to be the most nerdy, geek-filled discussion that we've probably had on the podcast. But let's do it, man. I mean, it's like I said, it's such a pleasure to be speaking to you, and I'm glad we could get you on for this specific episode as well. But before we do get on into the War of the Rohirrim, Sandy, what I like to do with all my new guests is play a little quickfire questions round just to get sort of know you a little bit better, what kind of films you're into, what films you're not into. So you ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So first up, Sandy, what is your favorite film?
Right. So I'm just going to preface this just right off the board. Lord of the Rings is going to be my answer for most questions. So, for the sake of, having some novelty, let's just say that's the answer to most of them and just put that to the side.
Sure.
Right. My favorite movie, besides the trilogy, would have to be either Ridley Scott's Alien.
Okay.
Incredible film.
Yep.
I think it's genuinely perfect. Or Akira Kurosawa's Ran. I'm a big Kurosawa guy. Kurosawa guy.
This is great picks. Great picks. What is a comfort film of yours?
Have you ever seen Rob Reiner's Flipped?
I have not. No.
Oh, it's so sweet. It practically gave me diabetes.
I like Rob Reiner a lot.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Flipped.
Oh, it's just like, not even I think they're like 13, 14-year-olds, just a pair of them just fall in love over a film. It's incredible.
What is a guilty pleasure film of yours?
Pitch Perfect 1 and 2.
Okay.
Pitch Perfect 1 and 2.
Okay, 1
Love
and 2, but not 3.
Not 3. No.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, let's be honest. What's a film you think is underrated?
Underrated? I think 500 Days of Summer is just one of the best romance rom-coms of all time. I think it's so underrated. Yeah, I think people love it, but I think people need to love it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I spoke about it recently, actually, on one of the episodes. Yeah, we did a top 10 sort of autumn, sort of winter films list. I know what you're thinking. Technically a summer film, but just because of the way that film ends, right on autumn.
On autumn, yeah.
There you go. What's a film you think is overrated?
Right, saying this directly to the camera. Interstellar.
What
is okay to good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
To be honest, I do know quite a few people who actually would probably agree with you.
Oh, yeah.
I probably wouldn't be one of them, but...
Interstellar's an incredible film.
I mean, I don't think it's like... I think technically, I don't think it's Nolan's best. However, I'm just a softie, and I ultimately won away by just the sheer heart of that film. I think you would probably disagree, by the way.
I think there's no heart in that film, quite frankly.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
So is it safe to say that you won't be returning for Interstellar's 10-year anniversary? I think we're kind of at the end of the year at this point, but...
I still will. Look, the visuals are great. The soundtrack's great. The acting's amazing. Like, it's technically an incredible film. I just think it's grim. It's sad and it's grim, and there's no point to the sadness or grimness. That's really? My main takeaway from it. Yeah. So like, you watch something like Requiem for a Dream, it's sad and it's grim, but that's the point. Don't do drugs. But Interstellar, what are you trying to say here? Leave your kids? Don't leave your kids? Right? Because he left his kid, and then he found his kid again when she was ancient, and then she was like, no, go and find Anne Hathaway, who's gone to find love on another planet where the person she loves is dead as well. Yeah. What's the point? But what are we doing here?
Isn't that the whole... as in, like, for me, what I take away from that... We're getting into, like,
sorry,
separate...
yes.
is the idea of, like, you know, when you have kids, they become the most important thing. And then... you know, he eventually makes it back to her, and then she has her own family, and then it's the kind of constant cycle. Yeah, sure, like, you could kind of say...
I get where you're coming from. Thematically, it's very sound. I just think it's just too grim. I just think it's too sad.
Grim?
Yeah, like, there's a grimness to it. Like,
as in, like, sad, or like, just meandering kind of...
No, not meandering. No, just... It's sad, but it's sort of pointless sad.
Right.
It's just... It's grim.
But do you feel things when you watch Interstellar? Or did you feel things when you watched Interstellar?
When I see Matthew McConaughey cry, I feel things.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I feel
so
things.
You are human, after all.
Just about human.
Okay, well, guys, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for coming. We're not really making use of the whole quickfire.
No, we're really not.
We never do, to be honest. People say their hot takes, and
it's scintillating conversation, isn't it?
It is. What is your favourite film score?
Again, preface, Lord of the Rings. Yep. Otherwise, How to Train Your Dragon.
Ooh,
I think that film score is just...
Yeah.
I levitate. I absolutely levitate. It's incredible.
It's absolutely fantastic. Horror or comedy?
Very tough. Love both. Probably more of a horror guy.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
Sci-fi.
Oh!
Yes.
I did not expect that.
I love as I said, I love them, but those are just three movies.
Sure,
Sci-fi, there's so much.
Yeah.
I know I just had a little go at Nolan. I do love Nolan's movies.
What is your favourite Nolan movie?
Inception.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Blockbuster or indie?
There are some incredible indie films. Absolutely are, but just a good blockbuster.
Yeah.
Just a good blockbuster, yeah.
What is a film you wish you watched in the cinema?
I recently watched this for the very first time about a week ago. Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh my God. I haven't seen it in the cinema, but...
I just imagine it.
Where did you watch it, by the way? Did you watch it in Southend?
No, I watched it on my laptop. I bought it on, yeah.
As it? Okay, cool. So I thought you said you recently watched...
No, as in I watched it for the very first time.
Sure. Yeah. What was it? I went to Jordan a couple of months ago. Did a rewatch of Lawrence of Arabia right before then. Like, there's no other way to prep that. Then went to Wadi Rum where they shot Dune, Lawrence of Arabia.
No.
And it was like I don't even know. I'm like a changed person.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I imagine that's surreal.
Ridiculous, yeah. If you were stuck on a desert island, what 4 films would you take with you?
Again, let's just bundle Lord of the Rings into one spot right there. As I said, Alien, massive fan. Again, Akira Kurosawa's Ran. And then I'm actually going to go with, I don't know if you've seen this, maybe you have, Zack Snyder film, Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. Oh, it's unreal. Oh my God.
You know what's crazy? Remember you said that later in
okay.
Remember you said that, because it is technically quite a random film for this episode, but remember you said that.
Yeah, no, I watched that film on repeat for I think a month. I think my mum had to cancel Amazon Prime because she was going crazy. She was like, I can't have this happen anymore. So she had to cancel it, yeah.
What is your favourite film of this year, 2024 so far?
We actually spoke about this earlier.
We did indeed.
It was Dune Part 2 for the longest time, until The Wild Robot.
Wow.
The Wild Robot.
There we go.
Sent me crying, tears.
What is the worst film you've seen in 2024 so far?
The Strangers Chapter 1.
What is your most anticipated film, and finally, for the rest of the year?
Well, to be fair, the year's coming to an end.
Yep.
And
There's only one film, but you've seen it.
That's the thing. That's what I was going to say. That's the thing.
I mean, the last question is technically void at this point.
It is, but it's just because I did get to see it early. Massive privilege, massive pleasure.
Yeah. For those of you wondering what film we are talking about,
it's Robert Eggers' remake, and it's Nosferatu. So it's a remake of 1922's F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu.
Very nice.
Unreal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so hyped for that film. I mean, it's gonna be great. Well, thank you, Sandy, for playing that round of quickfire questions. I think I slightly gauged you a little bit better.
Yeah,
yeah, I think so. Okay. I think so. But I think onto the discussion we go.
Yes,
we are of course here to talk all things Lord of the Rings, the War of the Rohirrim.
Yep.
So your experience with Lord of the Rings, I feel like for me, like that's how I came to know you on TikTok is via Lord of the Rings, and of course you do other content and whatnot, which I assume is potentially a little frustrating at times if you are trying to
yeah for sure.
When you do so well at one specific thing, it's like kind of when you want to do something different, people if just want to kind of know you Lord of the Rings. So I mean, obviously this episode is not helping that. But since it is such a big part of your life, but also my life, I mean, I bought this as sort of an accessory here, but I mean, these films changed my life. How did they change your life? When did you first experience Tolkien, Middle-earth?
Yeah.
Take it away.
I watched the films when I was really, really young. I think I must have been like 5, 6. Maybe they were on TV, something like that. I can't remember. I watched them, and at the time, I didn't love them. I was actually scared because Gollum terrified me. Gollum absolutely terrified me. I was like, I'm not touching these at all. Until The Hobbit came out. The Unexpected Journey came out.
Yeah.
Gollum was in the trailers. I was like, I can't do this right now. But then my year 6 English teacher, Mr. Hope, shout out, cool guy. He massive Lord of the Rings fan, so he showed us the Fellowship of the Ring before the first Hobbit came out, and I was like, this is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
This is incredible. And then literally that day, I went out and I went to like a charity shop. I found all 3 Lord of the Rings films, bought them. Went home. I ordered all 3. I ordered all 3 books online. Eventually got those as well. Watched them, read them,
and here
never looked back.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you actually technically came across the story pretty late. I want to say.
Yeah.
Right?
I would have been like 11.
Wow.
10, 11. Yeah. Like a lot later than most other people.
Yeah.
It's not something like I grew up with throughout my childhood.
Yeah.
It's much later on.
Well, I wouldn't have known. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And of course, it's just catapulted you into where you are now. And that's incredible, man. Yeah. So would it be safe to say that you, given all your experience and your background with Lord of the Rings, pretty excited for the War of the Rohirrim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's Lord of the Rings. I'm not a massive anime guy.
Right. This is what I wanted to talk to you about your experience with anime.
Yeah. When it comes to anime, I Studio Ghibli is just, it's different. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm more so speaking, I don't like... So I love stuff like Castlevania, also incredible. The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf, that kind of stuff is amazing. I don't love, Tokyo Ghoul, whatever, like those ones. Sure. Those aren't really my vibe.
Like the big mainstream...
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting.
So it was... Because I'd watched stuff like Castlevania, I wasn't super apprehensive. Yeah. Because I do like anime. They got great action sequences, like it's beautifully animated. But there was a little bit of, hesitation. Yeah. Yeah, but still, overall, very excited.
Interesting. I think I'm pretty similar to you in the sense of like I'm not a huge anime guy either. I've only technically watched one anime series, and I haven't even finished it. Is Attack on Titan. I've seen the first 3 seasons of that, and I think it's absolutely incredible. But I just love that story in that world. Yeah. The anime is obviously incredible, but it isn't something I have found myself getting into as much. And it's not. I'm not opposed to it at all. I just need to find the time to really sort of, sink my teeth into like a real sort of another show, etc. But yeah, so similarly to you, I was excited. You know what it is? I was interested in this film, not excited.
Yeah, like intrigued, right?
Intrigued, but not excited. I was like, to be honest, like when it was first announced, and I saw the first trailer, I just thought, and I still do, this is the most random, like
an anime
for Lord of the it just, and Warner Bros was producing it, and I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Peter Jackson's involved.
Exactly. I always knew I was going to be watching it because I mean, come on, we don't mess around. But the War of the Rohirrim.
Yes.
Was this a story? Was the story of Helm Hammerhand one that you wanted to see on the big screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you look at the stuff they were working with, they're primarily working with the appendices of The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and just one of the biggest stories in there that they can adapt, because obviously there's a whole rights issue
thing,
with adapting the first age. If you look at the second age, Helm is like one of the first guys you go to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, the Long Winter absolutely is one of the first things you go to. Yeah.
Cool. So this is the thing. So you guys will probably already getting a sense of this, but this man's knowledge here is about to elevate this episode into new dimensions. So I'm going to be asking a lot of questions about the lore, etc. For me, like Helm Hammerhand was a name I heard, Theoden's say, like the horn of Helm Hammerhand will blow in the deep. Like, Chill was even saying that. So yes, I was interested to see who this character was and kind of what his story was, and in general as well. I always feel like Rohan is such a big part of the Peter Jackson trilogy. Yeah. Obviously, it's pretty absent in the first film, Fellowship, but, second and third. Yeah, my favorite character in Lord of the Rings is Aragorn, and, he learned to become a king at Rohan.
Yeah.
He learned leadership there. And I just think, it's incredible. And let's not even get started about, the Battle of Pelennor Fields.
Oh, gosh,
it's just, that meme of like, girls want to, how do you want to die? I want to die in like my bed alone, peaceful. And guys, it's like, no, I want to I want to die in the Battle of Pelennor Fields, screaming death.
I want to go down swinging with Theoden.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Theoden, Rohan, any of them. Any of them.
Just straight. I think, for me, it's like the most epic scene ever put to film. Like, it's just...
I agree.
It's insane.
The actual chills, like you were saying.
Yeah. R.I.P. Bernard Hill.
Honestly.
Oh my gosh. So yes, very, very interested, somewhat excited to see this come to fruition.
Yeah.
How did you watch them? You said you went to the premiere. Did you?
I didn't go to the premiere.
Okay,
I went to a Empire VIP screening.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was good. Like, the event was great. I was there with a couple of my mates.
Nice.
Got an invite from Craig's Reviews.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, it was really good fun. Great experience.
Where was
it? Was Regent Street Cinema.
Okay.
So close to that square. Yeah. So we watched the film, and then afterwards, Kenji Kamiyama, who's the director, and two other producers came out, and they just spoke about it for like half an hour-ish about how the story came about, what they wanted to do, and where they might take this series further if they're going to. Yeah.
That's super cool.
It was great. It was great. Yeah.
I kind of had I had a little bit of a different experience to you. I watched it at the multimedia screening.
Yes.
A couple days ago, I think Wednesday, but I went to India for a week, and I landed that morning. So I was like,
just heavily jet lagged,
but incredibly jet lagged. And I did well with. I don't usually fall asleep in films or anything like that, but like it did keep my attention. Maybe partly because I just do love Middle Earth and whatnot. But like it was a screening late at night, and I think it was the Warner Brothers multimedia screening. And I had a nice time with. It wasn't too busy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I think that's because they had the premiere.
They had
and it was kind of sort of being drawn out. But yeah.
Premiere looked insane, by the way.
Yes,
it was crazy. Everyone was there.
Yes, yeah. Kate Blanchett was there. I thought Kate Blanchett being on the red carpet, I was like, she's
she might be a little cameo kind of thing.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm happy. I wouldn't say I'm happy she's not in it, but it's nice to see her just show up and just kind of be there, right? Even though she's not.
Just to celebrate this whole universe they've built,
Definitely. Let's get into the discussion then. Let's into the review. So, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Guys, if you haven't seen the film, please do go check the film out and come back to this discussion at a later time. Do a little plot synopsis. So, 183 years before the events chronicled in the original trilogy, a sudden attack by Wolf, a clever and ruthless... You're going to have to help me out. Dunlending.
Yep, Dunlending.
Dunlending Lord, seeking vengeance for the death of his father, forces Helm Hammerhand and his people to make a daring last stand in the ancient stronghold of the Hornburg. Finding herself in an increasingly desperate situation, Hera, the daughter of Helm, must summon the will to lead the resistance against a deadly enemy intent on their total destruction. The film is directed by Kenji Kamiyama, produced by Peter Jackson, stars the likes of Brian Cox, Guy Wise, Luke Pascalino, amongst others. Okay, Sandy, let's talk the War of the Rohirrim. What were your sort of, I want to say, immediate thoughts walking out of the screening that you went to?
First of all, I'm going to say I liked it. I definitely liked it.
Yeah.
What I feel like, I think the best way I could describe this is there are moments of genuine greatness in this, like incredible moments, shots, scenes, like sequences. But sometimes it can take a while to get there.
Yes.
There can be long periods where maybe you're a bit more bored, maybe it's slower. You know, I think it's not the most well-paced film.
Right.
But there are just nuggets of gold in there. And if you're willing to sit through it, you should.
Yeah. Am I correct in saying that you knew the events of the film, you knew how the entire thing would pan out?
Yeah.
So do you feel like that influenced the way you thought about it afterwards? Do you feel like, because obviously you know the story. I didn't know this. I mean, I didn't know how it was going to end. I knew Helm Hand was probably going to die.
Sure, yeah.
And that was essentially how Helm's Deep essentially came to be, or the name at least. But aside from that, I didn't really, I didn't know too much about this, this story. So my question, I guess, is: do you feel like the storytellers here did that story essentially did justice?
I think so. I think they definitely did. I think they were very faithful to the story while adding their own twist. And you've heard it a lot that, why are they making Hera the main character why isn't it Helm?
Yeah.
I've always been under the impression that it shouldn't be Helm.
Right.
Helm is the coolest character in the story, but he's not the main character there. Like, because we're doing spoilers.
Yeah, we're doing spoilers.
Okay, sure. So if you're telling the entire story of the Long Winter, Helm dies halfway through, okay? He can't really be your main character if he dies halfway through. Also, he's not really a good guy. As in, he's a good guy, as in, like, he's on the side of good. But he's arrogant, he's pig-headed, he makes rash decisions sometimes. Yeah. He's not exactly the best main character. And then the other one people say is Freyalaf.
His nephew?
Yes, his nephew. They're like, why isn't he the main character? Well, he's basically not there for the first half of the film.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're like, okay, what about Helm's two sons? Because he has two sons in the book who are named Haleth and Hama. They both die fairly early on in this conflict. They can't be the main character. The only character who really could make sense is his unnamed daughter in the books, who they name as Hera, because you can that's an infinite sandbox you can play with. She's unnamed. You can do anything you want with her. So she is genuinely, I think, the best person to make a focal character. And I think that was one of the changes that I really liked, and it added that novelty for me going into this film, because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen there. Yeah,
she's almost this like you're stepping in, the audience is stepping into her. Exactly. She's seeing this story sort of unfold around her. I also think it's her kind of perspective is interesting because, I mean, it's incredibly obvious. She is one of the only female characters in the film. Yeah. So to see like kind of this idea of all the kind of men in her life, sort of, and like, Wolf used to be her like dear friend / somewhat. There's a little bit of romance. We don't know what's happening there. She has two brothers. She has this larger than life father. So I definitely think her being the centerpiece of this story felt like the natural kind of decision here. Kenji Kamiyama. Are you familiar with his stuff before? You said you were not a big anime guy.
No, can't say that I am. He did Ghost in the Shell, right?
He did. So yeah,
I've heard incredible things about it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard incredible things. Yeah. So just for some context, so for Kenji Kamiyama so he was firstly a background artist for Akira and Kiki's Delivery Service. Wow. Okay.
Miyazaki's. He joined Team Oshi at Production IG, contributing to the screenplay of Blood the Last Vampire and working as an animation director for Jinro. In 2002, he made his directorial debut with Mini Pato, followed by Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex and Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex the second. In 2007, after almost 6 years of work on Standalone Complex World, he directed the TV series Guardian of the Sacred Spirit and Higashi no Eden, which is a TV series and 2 movies. And in 2021, it was announced that Kamiyama would be directing an animated feature in the Lord of the Rings franchise entitled The War of the Rohirrim. I mean, the pair of us, we both said we're not huge anime guys. Having said that, how do you feel like anime, or the decision to use anime and this style of storytelling, this animation, impacted the story itself? Do you feel like it enhanced the story?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah?
I think if you're going to get someone like Kenji Kamiyama, someone with like incredible expertise in anime, then it has to be an anime, right? in terms of whether it affects the story, I think it leads to some like incredible, like, you know, shot composition, sometimes like beautiful imagery, things like that. But I don't think it was necessary per se. Not that I'm saying they shouldn't have done it as anime. I'm just saying I think it would have worked either way. But it does. It like there's a level of like creativity to anime. Like you can do things that you can't do in live action with anime. Yeah, you can just make things maybe seem more seamless or whatever. And I think it probably in a lot of senses I think it was the right choice just for like creatively. Yeah. Because it opens up like a whole different world. No,
definitely. I've seen like a couple of criticisms saying like, you know, some of the kind of movement, they needed a couple more frames or, you know, things like that. I didn't personally have too much of an issue with it.
You settle into it, right?
You settle into it. And I think one of the things I just generally like about the film is the fact that it's more of an intimate story. It's more of a personal story. You know, like Lord of the Rings is obviously a very personal story, but you have so many characters, you know, spanning across such vast locations. But this is so particular and honed in on a specific group of characters with relationships that are incredibly personal. So I did like seeing that kind of angle here. Overall, I think I'm kind of similar to you. I liked it. I thought it was like all right. I want to say, I don't know if I'm gonna be looking at Middle Earth or Rohan in particular with, you know, a different perspective, I want to say. But I think one of the general things I really love about the film is the idea that Warner Bros. Or the producers are, you know, say what you want about anime, and I'm not the biggest anime guy, but the idea that you are bringing, you know, that style of storytelling and mixing it with the mainstream and exposing that to more audiences, I think is such a good like benefit. Regardless of whether you think it works or not, it opens up the conversation of having more creativity and, you know, different. You take a risk with stuff like that. 100%. It opens up doors. 100%, 100%. Let's talk about some of the characters then. We did briefly speak about Hera, but let's talk about the man that, you know, everybody came to see with this film. Let's talk about Helm Hammerhand. I did actually take a little glimpse at your review on TikTok about the film, and you kept using the word aura. Do you want to tell me a little bit about Helm Hammerhand, his aura per se? Let's go.
So Helm Hammerhand is the ninth. This is the ninth king of Rohan, and he is the final king in the first line of kings, because of course his whole lineage, his direct descendants die right after him, so the crown goes to his nephew, therefore that's second line. Helm is he's one of the most powerful men who's ever existed in the history of Middle Earth. The thing with Helm is the Freka incident, right?
Oh my god,
the Freka incident. It plays out very differently in the books, which we can get into later. But the main thing I want to talk about is just with one punch, he just killed this man. He is one punch man, literally. Like, it's insane, and like that's the presence he's always had, right? And then when you get to stuff like the Long Winter, which is when the siege occurs, when the Dunlendings and they're in the Hornburg, every single night there's a crazy blizzard going on. Every single night, Helm leaves the Hornburg, and it's the way it's stated in the books is he stalks the Dunlendings like a snow troll and kills them with his bare hands, right? And every single night when he goes out, the horn of Helm.
I heard somewhere like
that's what they think, because they're like, this guy's crazy, he's a monster, right? And every night he goes out, the horn of Helm Hammerhand sounds in the deep, and it terrifies the Dunlendings. And when one night he goes out and then he doesn't come back, right, on a really snowy night, and then when they go out looking for him, they find him frozen in place, and it specifically says his knees were unbent, like he died standing. Like, come on. The aura there, the gravitas, just everything about him is just, he is absolutely, as you said, larger than life. He's one of those characters who, as I said, shouldn't be the main character because he's kind of a dick and he dies halfway through the story, but he is just so impressive, so imposing, domineering.
100%. I think, even just listening to you speak about him is just giving me chills. And obviously for a larger than life character, you need a larger than life actor to do that, and I mean Brian Cox knocks it out of the park. Absolutely, he is the guy for the job.
I think it took me like I'm gonna say 4 minutes. It took me 4 minutes to settle into his actual voice, because I always assumed him having like this really deep booming voice. And Brian Cox has a great voice, but it's not exactly like this. But like so like a few minutes in, when like Freka comes in and he starts talking to Freka, I'm like, okay, that's Helm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said that, you know, he is this incredible character, but he's also a bit of a dick.
Yes.
That is very evident in the film, just by the way he sort of dismisses his own kin. I would say for pride's sake, and you know, and he just he loses his head.
Yeah.
And as a result, you know, Edoras gets taken. You know, there are so many consequences. You know, he loses his sons. I think he's an incredibly interesting character, and I think it also further just shows why I think Hera was the correct person to definitely for us to see this story unfold through. Hera herself, you said she's unnamed in the appendices,
yes,
correct? Because I would say one of my main criticisms with her is I feel like she was a bit too perfect.
Right,
she didn't have the most kind of interesting arc, I would say. I think what I enjoyed was the idea that they kind of, you know, you could see her as a strategist. You could see her, you know, she's got an incredibly intelligent mind. She's not just some, you know, princess.
Yeah.
I thought Gaia Weiss did a really good job. I do think just sometimes as a character, she wasn't the person I was kind of looking at. I was much more interested in kind of the stuff going around her.
Yeah.
There's a mention right at the start that her mother passed away. Do you have, I don't know what, because it seemed very sort of glossed over. Do we know anything about her mother, or do we know anything about Helm's?
We do. I can't say I fully remember, but it's nothing like, there's nothing big there.
Right. Okay.
There's no big incident. It's, when I tell you, it's literally the entirety of this film plays out in about 2 pages. I think maybe even less.
Yeah.
It's incredibly short. And when I say Hero's unnamed, it just says Helm had a daughter.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Like the story doesn't necessarily revolve around a specific character because it's not a story. It's just Tolkien writing a history of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah.
Well, taking that into consideration, I would assume that you would probably say that there is so much potential out there in the world of Middle-earth to tell more stories. Like it just ones that come to your mind that we haven't seen unfold obviously yet. Yeah. Are there any favorites or standout stories that...
So here's the thing. First of all, when one of the producers came out to talk about this, he was asked a question which is like, so he said that the War of the Rohirrim was one of 3 ideas he pitched to Philippa Boyens.
Okay.
And she said, go for that one. But the other 2 are still on the table. And he didn't tell us what they were, but he said something which fairly clearly indicates to me what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it, just in, you know, should I? I'm technically theorizing.
You're technically, yeah.
Technically, yeah. So it's actually about, at least this is what I believe he's referring to, and either way it's a story I'd love to see. It's the precursor. So it's the man who founded Rohan was a guy named Eol, and his ancestor was a man named Fram, and Fram slew a dragon named Scartha.
Okay.
And that's essentially just the entire story, just about this man who slew one of the great worms, one of the great dragons of the Second Age, because the producer mentioned that it was about a monster, and the only significant monster who appears during the Second Age in the appendices is Scartha, so that's what I believe that's a reference to. I'd love to see that. I just love dragons, and I think if you can't do First Age dragons, do Second Age dragons.
But Scartha is not the most powerful dragon.
No.
Correct?
Well, no, he's not the most powerful dragon just of all time.
Who would those titles go to? What kind of dragons are we talking about? We're really getting into.
We're really getting into this. Yeah, I've made several videos about this,
which is why
I get thousands of comments asking me about a specific dragon in particular because a lot of people just know the name because it's a pretty cool name. It's the most powerful dragon in the history of Tolkien's extended universe is Ancalagon the Black.
Right.
Yeah, crazy cool name. There's some contention on how big exactly he was, but he could have been as big as a mountain range, which is enormous. He had the hottest fire in Middle-earth history, as Gandalf tells us in Fellowship of the Ring, although he does say even his fire isn't hot enough to melt the One Ring. Nothing can, only the fires of Mount Doom can. He's the most powerful dragon. He emerged during the War of Wrath, which is the great cataclysmic war that ended the First Age. It was the first appearance of the winged dragons, so before that, dragons didn't have wings.
Wow.
And he was slain by a half-elf in a flying ship and an army of eagles.
But I guess that's the irony of it, isn't it? It's just what can defeat an entity so OP? And then it's just the most. Even the smallest person can make the. What was it? Even the smallest person can make the. Even the smallest person can make the biggest change. Something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, sorry, I got a little carried away with the dragons there, but
not at all. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll probably talk more dragons at some point.
Anytime.
As well. I wanted to ask you. You mentioned that there were some real gold dust moments here.
Yes.
In the War of the Rohirrim. What is, if you had to put it down, what do you think the best scene was in this film?
The best scene. Ooh, what do I think the best scene was? I think there's just one shot, and they showed it in the trailer, but it's the scene where Freyalaf comes up from the hill. It's pretty much just an homage to what Gandalf did in Two Towers with Éomer, but I just thought the shot was it was so beautiful. Just seeing, just the silhouettes of all of them, and Freyalaf wearing helmet. It was just, I was like, it's a beautiful shot.
Chef's kiss. I also really enjoyed how they did Frekka's death. Like, it was just so quick. So, what the hell's going, like, and I did actually kind of feel for Wolf. Like, I think, like, it's not a story we haven't seen before, but he is a very tragic character. Yeah, and that's why this story is not one dimensional at all. It is a very complex story with lots of good and evil on both sides. I would say so. As a story, I think it gripped me a lot of the time. I also think Helm's Last Stand is. That's up there. That actually, you know what? I changed my answer. That whole sequence was incredible. That's exactly what I wanted. Like, I think for me, if there was one thing they had to nail, it was Helm Hammerhand, and that scene in particular. And I was like, that's exactly what it had to be. But the film isn't perfect. Do have our gripes. What were some of your sort of kind of like mixed feelings?
I think it primarily comes down to the pacing of the film. I think it almost rushes the introduction. It was sort of like very, very quickly escalated into the events of what happens when Frekka comes to Medjugorje. And then because of that rush, there was just so much downtime before we get to the big events in the long winter. So I just think it was badly paced in that sense. Or choppy in that sense. Okay, that's my biggest gripe about the movie is that.
I would agree with you. I think it comes in at what 2 hours and 15 minutes, something like that. And at some points, I think during the middle section, it does kind of lose a bit of momentum and kind of drags a little bit. And also, like, one thing, I mean, I can't talk about Lord of the Rings without talking about Howard Shore's score.
Yes.
So that was, the musical score for this was something I was excited to see, even though Howard Shore's not doing it. Stephen Gallagher. I wasn't overly taken by the score here.
I completely agree. I was expecting something new, and it is new in a sense, but there's just a lot of the Rohan theme, and then they just... it's an evolution of that a little bit.
Definitely, they play the Rohan theme quite a lot, which of course is incredible. But then they have the one kind of motif that pops out to me is they have a theme for Hera, and for me, it just seemed like the most kind of basic, almost superhero-esque kind of development of the Rohan theme. And I as a big musical score fan, I wanted a little bit more.
I know, you were listening to it in the car over.
I literally was. Yeah, and also like I think I've mentioned this before, but the kind of the randomness of just, I don't know how much this impacted me moving forward as a Lord of the Rings fan. It was cool to see, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I think like, the Lord of the Rings property, we've had the, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, and we've had the Hobbit trilogy. And it seems to be like the one franchise that's kind of slowly now starting to get some wheels
ramp back up again.
Now we've got the Hunt for Gollum coming up.
Yep.
The Hunt for Gollum, though, are you excited for that at all?
Here's the thing, I'll always be excited for Lord of the Rings property. I'll always be excited at the prospect of Andy Serkis and Viggo Mortensen. And
I did hear that Viggo Mortensen was asked.
As have I. I don't know how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
He's old now. He could still pull it off. I think a rumor that they might DH him. I'm just like, I don't know if that's going to work, but at the same time, who else are you going to get to play Aragorn? I just think there are better, cooler stories you can do than the Hunt for Gollum.
Sure.
Not that I'm not excited, it's just Angmar exists. What are we doing here? The Witch King exists. What are we doing? Come on now.
I think it is. I feel like it is kind of a classic case of like just trying to it's not doing exactly Lord of the Rings, but you're using familiar characters and banking on the idea that people will go to see the film because of that. Whereas I agree with you. I think they should be telling, this world is clearly, if you've seen this guy's page on TikTok, clearly so much.
Oh, it's stuffed.
More dense than that.
So much going on.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think. Did you take anything away from watching The War of the Rohirrim? As in, like, when you left the cinema,
Mm-hmm.
was it kind of just like, oh, that was all right? Or were you in any way changed as a fan?
That's the thing. I don't think I was.
Okay.
I think it was just okay.
Yeah.
Not a bad film, and that's the big problem, isn't it?
That is the big problem.
You come out of Lord of the Rings, you're not the same person you were.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not.
But that's the problem, is that when you have the bar so high.
The bar is so high.
Yeah.
It just felt like a one and done sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's look at the story. Cool. That's that.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how you'd change that as well.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not a filmmaker. I don't know. It's tough to say.
I think that's a very humble answer. But yeah, I definitely share your opinion here. I think, like, yeah, it's just it's cool. It's fine.
Yeah,
That's literally what the noise I made. I
just want to delve really quickly, if possible,
sure.
into so as I mentioned earlier, the whole Freka incident plays out fairly differently in the books.
Tell me, yes, please.
So in the film, obviously Freka comes to Edoras, to Meduseld. He's like, Wolf and your daughter Hera, they should get married. And then essentially just like badmouths Helm for a while, and then they just go outside and have a fight, and Helm knocks him out, and Helm kills him, and it's sort of like it sort of seems like self-defense in a way, as in like it's not cold-blooded murder. In the books, it's cold-blooded murder. So what happens is Freka comes to Meduseld. He does offer his son Wolf's hand to Hera, and Helm just fat shames him for a little while. And then I think Freka like throws an insult back his way, and instead of just maybe insulting him back, Helm decides to essentially take Freka outside of Edoras to a hill and just kill him with one punch.
Wow.
So it is just cold-blooded murder.
Yeah.
It was just an assassination straight up.
And how do you feel about that change, though?
That's the thing. See, I was like, I've always liked that because it shows that Helm isn't a good guy. He isn't a good guy, and his actions directly caused terrible stuff. It caused the destruction of Edoras, the death of his sons, all of that horrible stuff. And I like the fact that they made him a bit more sympathetic, I guess, but I think I really would have liked to see him just be a complete arsehole. Yeah.
Interesting. I completely appreciate that. I actually think, like, listening to you speak about it, yeah, I mean, it's definitely more intense, it sounds, in the appendices. But I kind of like the idea that it's almost an accident. Just the idea that, this conflict almost just arose. Yeah. And because of multiple factors, but the fact that it just kind of came and went in a blink of an eye. Yeah. And then next thing you know, there's all this stuff spiraling out of control. I kind of like that idea, but at the same time, I think
No, I get that. Yeah, just like this one stupid action, which maybe no one could have foreseen.
Yeah.
Caused all that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's our review, guys, on The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Do let us know what you thought of the film if you have seen it. Down below in the comments section, we'd love to chat. Now, Sandy, we are going to go to, I always say this, everybody's favourite segment of the episode, and that is our game segment.
Oh, I'm sweating.
Here we go.
Oh, gosh.
So we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, a couple of which are Lord of the Rings and fantasy-based, and 1 or 2, I think, are just one, just general film trivia. The first game we've got is a little warm-up game, and it's this or that, but it is Fantasy Film Edition. Okay. So I've got some picks, and I'm going to give you 2 films, and you're just going to say which of the 2 films, and I'm just going to keep rolling. Sure. Okay. So, Wicked or The Wizard of Oz?
Wicked. I'm saying Wicked. I think the Munchkin song goes on for like half an hour.
Oh,
cut it all out. Yeah.
Wow. We've already started.
Yeah. It was put into Technicolor, and that was incredible. It was like the first colored film ever. Great. Asbestos for Snow. I'm sorry. Oh, the Tin Man's lead point. Come on. What are we doing here?
I could already see people.
God. Let them come. As Gimli says, let them come. Right.
Wicked or The Princess Bride?
I've never seen The Princess Bride, so Wicked.
Wicked or The Neverending Story?
The Neverending Story.
The Neverending Story or Labyrinth?
The Neverending Story.
Neverending Story or Stardust?
Neverending Story.
Neverending Story or The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe?
The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I love Narnia. I loved Narnia before I loved Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah. There you go. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe or Prince Caspian?
Oh, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or The Voyage of the Dawn Treader?
Still The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Clash of the Titans?
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Eragon?
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the
Looks
Wardrobe, or The Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Inkheart?
Haven't seen Inkheart, so still Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or The Spiderwick Chronicles?
Oh, I love the Spiderwick Chronicles. I really, really love the Spiderwick Chronicles. Nope, still Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or The Golden Compass?
Oh, still Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Snow White and the Huntsman?
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Maleficent?
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves?
That's a very good film.
It is surprisingly so good.
It's surprisingly
Yeah,
good. It came out of nowhere. It really did. I'm still going with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or The Legend of the Guardians: The Owls of Gahul?
Oh,
That's why I'm very.
oh, this is really tough now. This is really tough. Oh, just the cinematics, the fact that owl action was that good. The lore there, Lies of Keel. Oh my god, I'm going with The Legend of the Guardians: The Owls of Gahul.
The Owls of Gahul, or Shrek?
Oh god damn.
We're moving into animation.
Oh no. If it was Shrek 2, I would have gone for that, but I'm sticking with The Legend of the Guardians.
The Owls of Gahul, or Shrek 2?
Shrek 2 it is. Oh, it's one of the best. God, Shrek 2, go on.
Or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish?
Oh my. I've got to be honest, I'm actually not sure. I think they're honestly on par. I'm going to go, just for death, I'm going to go Puss in Boots and The Last Wish.
Okay. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, or Raya and the Last Dragon?
Underrated, very good, still Puss in Boots.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or Aladdin, the original?
Aladdin's great. It's a classic.
But
Puss in Boots.
okay. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or Peter Pan?
We're talking about the original animated one. Still Puss in Boots.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or Princess Mononoke?
Do you know what? I actually don't think Mononoke is like the best Ghibli there is.
You know, if Clara was here, she'd have you.
I think it's great. I think it's great. The best, I don't know about that. So I'm sticking with Puss in Boots.
Wow. Okay. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or Howl's Moving Castle?
Oh, I still don't think that one's the best either. So I'm going with Puss in Boots.
Okay. Well, speaking of the best, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or Spirited Away?
I still don't think that's the best. So Puss in Boots. Oh no, wait. No, but I think it's better than Puss in Boots though. Yeah.
Just out of interest, what is the best Disney movie?
I think it's Grave of the Fireflies.
You see, I haven't seen it. I need to see it. Apparently, people just don't come back the same after watching it.
It's harrowing. It is.
Spirited Away, or How to Train Your Dragon?
I'm still going to go Spirited Away because I think How to Train Your Dragon 2 is actually the best one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Spirited Away. We're going back to live action. Spirited Away, or The Green Knight?
The Green Knight was actually quite good. Still Spirited Away though.
Spirited Away, or Pan's Labyrinth?
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away, or The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey?
Am I going to let my bias really just show here? Really just because it's not as good a film.
This is your picks.
Yeah, why not? The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey.
The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, or The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug?
Desolation.
The Desolation of Smaug, or The Battle of the Five Armies?
Desolation.
The Desolation of Smaug, or The Fellowship of the Ring?
Ah, here we go. Fellowship of the Ring.
The Fellowship of the Ring, or The Two Towers?
Fellowship of the Ring.
The Fellowship of the Ring, or The Return of the King?
There's nowhere this game show can go from here. It is The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
Okay, and there we have it. The Return of the King wins again. I saved The Lord of the Rings till last because we knew where it was going to go. But yeah, man, that was This or That Fantasy Film Edition. How was that? Nice little warm up.
Yeah, Narnia was holding that top spot for a while, wasn't it? Yeah.
I wanted to ask you what your favorite Lord of the Rings film was without directly asking you.
Yeah.
And thus we have that.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we have, Sandy, we are going to play Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy hot takes. So you're going to tell me whether you agree or disagree.
Okay. Let's do this.
The first hot take we have is The Return of the King is the worst of the three Lord of the Rings films. 3, 2, 1.
Come on now, it's the best. It's the greatest movie ever made. It's not even a movie, it's an experience. It's an actual experience.
I would agree with you. I mean, I think this is the beautiful thing about the trilogy is I think you could actually make an argument for any three of them. That's
Absolutely.
the amazing thing
Absolutely,
about these films, and you don't get that with any other film series.
No,
there is. Like,
there's always like definitively like
100%.
a worst or least good one.
Yeah, and that's why this trilogy is the greatest trilogy of all time. Like that. Yeah. Our second hot take: Eowyn, Miranda Otto, was horribly miscast. 3, 2, 1. I disagree.
I disagree. I
think she's
don't
good.
see that at all.
Yeah.
I think she's great.
I think she's pretty great. And I mean, she basically, obviously more than one aspect, but she was essential in creating one of the most iconic scenes, line deliveries of all time.
Yeah.
Really. So yeah, there you go.
I disagree 100%. Yeah.
And also she was a great narrator for this film as well.
She was a great narrator. I love that
they
they brought her back for that.
Definitely. Up next, we have Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films don't do the books justice, despite being great. I can't answer this one. You're going to have to answer this one for us.
I'm going to say disagree.
Okay.
They make a lot of changes. They do. But pretty much every single change makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand why it's cut out. For timing, because it's complicated, for whatever reason. I disagree. I think they do the books justice. As long as it's thematically there.
Yeah.
That's what matters the most.
Well, then you have Moving Comic Junkie's seal on that, so I won't be arguing with anyone about this.
No.
Up next, we have the movies changed the character of Faramir for the better. You're going to have to fill me in a little bit here, but please do go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I say they do. So the main difference when it comes to Faramir is he's not tempted one bit by the ring in the books. He essentially sees the ring and he's like, I want nothing to do with this.
Very big contrast from his brother.
Yeah. Get away from me is essentially basically what he says. So he's incredibly virtuous. I like that they made him a bit more like, he had more of an edge to him. He wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
He had a chip on his shoulder. I like the idea that the ring did tempt him, because that's what the ring does. It plays on what you want most, and it plays on your good intentions and turns them bad. I like that happened. I like it that he's not just a paragon of virtue. Yeah,
definitely. I think he's one of the best characters. I say
absolutely.
In the entire trilogy. Up next, we have Gandalf getting smashed by the Witch King right before the Rohirrim charge was a bad scene. Sir, you are Maya. Oh, disagree.
I disagree. I think it was a good scene.
Okay, I think it's not a bad scene. I don't think it's a bad scene. I think there is an element of I can see why they cut it out of the theatrical version and it's in the extended cut. It's so cool to see those two guys face off against, the staff break. And also, when you watch the theatrical version, he just switches from staff to sword. So there's misinformation. There's information gap there. I think it happens very, very fast. And I think it's not even a frustration, but if I was to say, my frustration with that scene is just the fact that it wasn't longer. There wasn't more of that kind of exchange. But there you go.
Yeah, I think it's a good scene. I've seen a lot of people argue he's a Maya. How'd that happen? First of all, he's not just a Maya. He's an Istari, which means a wizard, which means he is a limited Maya. His powers now as the White, he has much more power than he did as the Grey. But you have to understand the Witch King is just the Witch King. If you're not powerful enough to harm Sauron, you can't really mess with the Witch King. Unless you have a barrow blade like Merry did, which is why Eowyn managed to destroy him. The Witch King's crazy powerful. Yeah. As in, could mess with Gandalf. As in, they'd have a good fight. Yeah. I still think Gandalf will probably come out on top. Yeah. Which is why I think that scene was great. I think it shows that, just because he's got a wizard here, doesn't mean it's okay.
There you go. Yeah, because that's actually a great point, because beforehand, all the the soldiers of Gondor were essentially looking at Gandalf like, Gandalf's around, no one's touching them. Wherever the White Wizard went, that was probably they were holding up well against the orcs, the armies of Mordor. But to see him, it's also because he went from Gandalf the Grey to White, and then he essentially almost became somewhat untouchable in a way. He was this angelic sort of presence, the light, all of that, and then to see him just like. Staff's gone, mate.
You're like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The theatrical versions are better than the extended versions. 3, 2, 1. Oh,
for the most part, I agree. For the most part, I agree. I understand why most things were cut out.
Yes.
I can see how it makes the film. I can see how they're paced better with that stuff out. And there's only a couple scenes where I'm like, I wish that was put back in. Yeah. I think to make it digestible, to not make it a day long to watch all of them. I'm sure we've both done many times. For those reasons, I think it was a good choice.
Yeah. So my answer is a little more sort of it's not as straightforward because I think I agree with you. I ultimately think for me I can't watch the theatrical versions again just because the extended editions. But I do think anyone who hasn't seen The Lord of the Rings should always watch the theatrical
for the first time. Absolutely.
Theatrical first.
You show them extended, they're never gonna. They'll hate it.
There's a bit too much in there. Up next we have the Hobbit movies weren't really that bad. I'm no Tolkien purist and generally don't care about things that alter the story. They clearly took a lot of artistic liberty combining all kinds of story arcs that never existed, but I still thought that they were highly entertaining. So essentially, the Hobbit films weren't that bad. I don't think they're that bad.
I don't think they're that bad.
I think they're
not bad.
Then they haven't got anything on the original trilogy, but.
The Battle of the Five Armies, that one's a bit of a drag, but
yeah. I think the Desolation of Smaug I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
I think the first two I really enjoyed.
Yeah, definitely. The Battle of Helm's Deep is not the best battle in the films. Disagree. I think as a battle, Helm's Deep takes it.
Yeah.
I think in terms of sheer epicness, I think the Battle of Minas Tirith somewhat takes. I think, yeah. I don't know.
It's hard. Like the speeches are better at Pelennor Fields.
Definitely. Yeah.
The speech is great outside the Black Gates of Mordor.
Yeah.
But just from like a cinematic angle, when it comes to like filming, also taking inspiration from Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai with the rain, just everything about it is, I think, just technically perfect.
Yep, 100%.
Mm-hmm. The only thing it's missing is a great speech, which you don't need also, but yeah.
And you don't need it when you have a quote as badass as And So It Begins.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
God.
So good, man. Oh my God, what a film. Mm-hmm. What a battle. The Scouring of the Shire and Tom Bombadil never would have been good in the movie medium. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I completely agree.
So who is Tom Bombadil, as I say?
So Tom Bombadil
Bombadil
doesn't even work in the context of the story. He doesn't even work in the... Tom Bombadil is based off of a character that Tolkien created in like a little short story he wrote before that he just folded into the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And he just appears when the hobbits are going through the Old Forest, from the Shire to the Old Forest to Bree. Yeah. As they're going through, they get attacked by a tree. Not an ant, a different tree called Old Man Willow, and this random guy essentially just comes floating in like a Looney Tunes character, saves them. The ring doesn't affect him at all. He's really weird. He might be God, but he's not God. He's also might be an angel, but he's not an angel. No one knows what he is. He's just a complete enigma. He also saves them from the Barrow-wights, who are like ghouls.
Sure.
Whole thing. He's just such a nonsense character who barely works in the book, so it's a good thing he was taken out of the movies.
Right.
As for the Scouring of the Shire, would have been cool to see, but also the ending is... So the Scouring... Do you know what that is?
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, so it would have taken place at the end of Return of the King, basically. Saruman's gone to the Shire and enslaved the hobbits, basically. And I'm just like, that movie's long enough as it is.
Yeah.
The ending is already talked about as like one of the longest endings in film history.
Yeah.
And I think like we've defeated Sauron. Yeah. All right, let's just leave it there. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah.
Let's leave it there. Yeah.
Well said. Mm-hmm. And finally, the last hot take we have is the Lord of the Rings movies are worse than people remember, and the Hobbit films are better than people remember. I don't know what the fuck that was all about.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know who wrote that, but
ridiculous.
There you go. And on that note, guys, that was our hot takes. Agree or disagree? Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy round. That was
loved it.
Interesting.
That was good.
Yeah. Interesting to see how some people think as well.
Yeah.
Up next, we have a Lord of the Rings trivia game.
Oh god, now I'm starting to sweat.
Sandy, and this is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Which Lord of the Rings character said the following quote? Okay, and this is taken from What Culture. Shout out to What Culture. We are borrowing your game. I'm borrowing your game. So the first quote is, "Your time will come. You will face the same evil, and you will defeat it."
Oh god, no! Please don't do this. Oh my god. Oh, Arwen says that to Aragorn.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
God damn. Oh god.
Let this be the hour when we draw swords together.
Okay, Theoden says it to Aragorn.
Yeah,
I was about to say Aragorn says it to Theoden. Theoden says it to Aragorn.
Yeah. For the time will soon come when hobbits will shape the fortunes of all?
Galadriel in the prologue.
That is correct. The city of Osgiliath has been reclaimed for Gondor.
Boromir.
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would end this way.
Oh, God.
It's quite a generic quote, but...
It is quite... I didn't think it would end this way. I don't know.
So that is Pippin.
Pippin?
To Gandalf. You know when they're having the moment?
Yes, at the Grey Havens, yeah.
A new power is rising.
No, not the Grey Havens.
Its victory is at hand.
Saruman.
Correct. The halfling was dear to thee, I see. Know that he suffered greatly at the hands of his host.
The mouth of Sauron.
That is correct. A red sun rises. Blood has been spilled this night.
Legolas.
Let's go. You know, I was on D of E. You know D of E?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on D of E and there was a red sun. And I
Really?
said it. and one of the guys in my group who, like, we were somewhat friends before, but not really that close, said it at the same time. I'm like,
boom.
Oh my God. No
Best
way.
friends.
The way is shut. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it.
The king of the dead, the
Correct,
Dunharrow people. Yeah,
correct.
whatever his name is.
Then let's just have his head and be done with it.
I know it. Then let's just have his head and be done with it. Oh God, this is just Lord of the Rings, right?
This is just Lord of the Rings.
Gimli.
Correct.
Yes.
Certainty of death. Small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Also Gimli.
You're a ring bearer, Frodo. To bear a ring of power is to be alone.
Galadriel.
Correct. Do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment.
Gandalf.
Correct. And finally, they have a cave troll.
Boromir.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Up next, this is the last Lord of the Rings theme game, the second last game we're going to play.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to do a blind ranking, but it is Lord of the Rings characters.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 5 characters, one at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to have to rank them 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, and then we'll have whatever order we have at the end of it. Okay. So the first character I have for you, Sandy, is Gollum.
I'm going to go 3.
3.
I'm going to go 3. I like Gollum. I love Gollum. He's great. Andy Serkis, motion capture, never been done before. Amazing.
I've ran into Andy Serkis now twice.
Really?
Super lovely guy.
He seems like just the nicest guy.
So nice.
He's one of the nicest, like funniest guy.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
I did want to get him to do an impression, but I was like, he probably gets.
Yeah.
The second character we have is Lord Elrond.
Do you know, I'm going to go ahead and put him in 5, not because I don't like him. I love him. He's great, but there are just a bunch of characters. I'm just
hoping.
I'm hoping. See, I love him. He doesn't get a great deal of play, obviously. But yeah, just because he doesn't get a great deal of play, and there's a load of other characters who I feel like you might hit me with.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it in 5.
Ooh, okay. So far we have Gollum at 3, Elrond at 5. Up next we have Samwise Gamgee.
Number 1.
Okay, wow.
There's no one who could beat Samwise.
Would you say he's your favorite character?
He is.
Okay.
He is.
Okay.
There's no one who could beat Samwise. There's one person who comes very, very close, but no one who tops him.
Who's that person?
Well, we'll see. We'll see if we get there. Yeah.
Okay. Up next, we have the Witch King of Angmar.
Oh, no. See, here's the thing. There are quite a few people who could slot in between Gollum and Samwise up there. One of them is the Witch King, but there's also a couple others, and I don't know if you're going to hit me with one of them. So I'm going to risk it and just put the Witch King at 2.
Okay.
Because he's incredible. Yeah.
He is. We were briefly just talking. Yeah. And finally, Sandy, the last character we have is Grima Wormtongue.
Oh, I so wish I put Elrond in 4. Okay. I'm fairly happy with that. The only thing is, I just wish I could have just switched to. Yeah.
That's a pretty solid, I would say, ranking there. Do let us know, guys, how you would rank those characters. Sandy, we are moving a little bit away from the Lord of the Rings. We're going to go to some general film trivia to end it on.
Let's do
end it on a
this.
podcast classic. So, Sandy, can you guess the film from the cast? Okay. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casts. So let's go. So the first cast we have is Christian Bale, Russell Crowe,
Okay.
Natalie Portman.
Christian Bale, Russell Crowe, Natalie Portman. I feel like it's right there and I'm just missing it. Pass. I don't know. What is it?
That is Thor: Love and Thunder. It's all right. It takes a little second.
Oh my! I'll start flipping out.
I'm telling you, there's always one that every single guest just completely just
That's
goes oh gosh. Anyways,
okay, whatever.
Let's move on. Let's see if we can redeem ourselves. So the second cast we have is Joel Edgerton, Elizabeth Debicki,
Okay.
Tobey Maguire.
Which one's Joel Edgerton?
Joel Edgerton. Have you seen Warrior with Tom Hardy?
Yes. Okay.
That's his brother.
Okay. Him.
Elizabeth Debicki.
From.
Have you seen Tenet?
Yes.
The blonde lady, tall lady.
Oh, okay. Her and then
and Tobey Maguire.
And Tobey Maguire. What was Tobey Maguire? Oh, no, it's not that, is it? I want to say Babylon, but no, I don't know.
It's not quite Babylon. It's got the party-esque nature of Babylon, I would say. That is The Great Gatsby.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
This
is going great so far. This is going really good so far.
Up next, we have Brad Pitt, Paul Dano, and Benedict Cumberbatch.
Brad Pitt, Paul Dano, and Benedict Cumberbatch. This is going terrible.
It is a tricky round of this. I will. Yeah.
Brad Pitt, Paul Dano, and Benedict Cumberbatch. Is it 12 Years a Slave?
It is correct.
Yeah,
that is right. Yeah, there we go. Up next, we have Ben Kingsley, Mark Ruffalo, Michelle Williams.
Ben Kingsley, Mark Ruffalo, Michelle Williams. Is that the Fablemans? No. Ben Kingsley, Mark Ruffalo, Michelle Williams. Fuck it, pass. What is it?
That is Shutter Island. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all right, man. Everyone has that one game.
Right.
And finally, we have Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and Woody Harrelson.
And Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, you were going to go Dark Knight.
I really was going to go Dark Knight there for a second. Morgan Freeman, Woody Harrelson, and Michael Caine.
Michael
Caine. Oh. What's Michael Caine in with Morgan Freeman? And Woody... Now you see me.
There you go.
Okay.
And we ended off on a strong note. Oh, guys, that was Guess the Film from the Cast. How'd you find that? It's tricky. I gave you some tough picks in there. Yeah, I will give you that. But yeah, guys, that concludes our round of games, and that essentially concludes this episode. Thank you so much, Sandy, for coming and talking all things Lord of the Rings and playing those games. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast. It really.
I'd love to have you on anytime, not even just for Lord of the Rings, but just in general. And guys, of course, if you haven't seen Sandy on TikTok, all his socials are going to be linked down in the description box. Do go give him a follow, especially if you love hearing about Lord of the Rings, but also if you love hearing about other stuff as well. But yeah, guys, that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and we will catch you very soon in the next episode of the Popcorn Podcast. Cheers.